Welcome everyone to King James Bible University. I'm Elder Michael Johnson, but I'm sitting over here, which we're supposed to be on Precept Mastery. But technically what's going on, it's a lot of issues what was happening where they was trying to switch things and stuff that wasn't going right. So we're running a little bit behind, but we're going to continue to go through what we need to go through. And I'm just trying to get this set up real quick because I also had, they told me to reboot the system, seeing what was going on. And that wasn't quite what it was. It was something on the other end. So we're going to go through a few things, and I want to make sure we get a few things up before we actually crank up. And we've been going through 1 Timothy 4 and 3, which I need to actually, no matter what, we have to move this over to the other side for what we're doing. Because actually you're going to get a lot of information, and basically what we're doing, we're using the Preceptor to go through what we're actually doing to find out exactly what this verse is saying. So if we're going to do that, we have to use the Bible. We're not going outside the Bible to find out anything. We find it directly in the Bible exactly what everything actually means. That's the beautiful part about it, because the Bible is a dictionary and a commentary all in one, and this is things we already know. However, you have people out there teaching otherwise, and they teaching you based on theology and not on basically precepts of scripture, which is the problem within itself. So what we're going to do, I'm just setting this up because I told them I got everything right. So I'm just setting this up, and I pretty much actually. I don't know why this is holding. Okay, there we go. And everything is being set up. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through to where we can start going through everything and seeing what is happening. So what I want to do, I'm going to show you my screen, and hopefully that you guys also, if you have the software, make sure that you're doing pretty much what's happening, because you're going to see some of the same stuff as we go through it. And you're going to see on this one verse, we have a ton of verses here, the precept to hold to what it is. But we probably get into grafting, which I'm pretty sure we're going to run into that. So what I'm going to do, let me get this started. And I'm going to go over here to the main part, to where we're going to start looking at this. And we're going to start looking at these verses. And we need to find out from the last time what happened. Because what happened on the last one, and if you on your preceptor, it's a couple of ways you can do it. You can actually open this up, and you can hone in on stuff if you want, or we can set it out. So it's up to you on how you want to do it. So all you do is click on the 2 pages you see over there, click it open. You can go all the way back, or you can open it up and do it how you want to. So right here, I'm going to still do this, but I'm going to use my hand for a minute, and I'm going to move stuff over. And basically what it says, and we starting back off on what we need to go through, because most of the people who's with us, we already understand a lot of stuff that was going on, and now we just starting on the 5th time to where we mainly starting to pull from this verse. So we know in 1 Timothy it says 4 and 3, it says, forbidding to marry and commanded to abstain from meats which Yahweh have created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth. So we went through most of this, and we have to understand what this is saying. And what happened with Paul giving you a flip side on what's happening, because this is what they was doing here. They was forbidding you to marry, commanding to abstain from certain meats. And these was meats that was already clean and things that you can do. But what they were doing, they was telling you a flip side of that, which was not true. Also forbidding to marry and commanding to abstain from these meats, which God had commanded, which believe and know the truth. So we know a couple of things here. We know what God, the Most High God, said was clean is clean. And we know also when we go into Leviticus, which we have up here also, when we look at Leviticus, it tells you what was clean and what was not clean, how to prepare meats. And meats is nothing but bread. So we know exactly how and what we need to do. These things are there. These things are there. So we have to make sure we understand what is happening all the time. Because if we sit there and we look at some of this, and people will sit there and say, well, I don't know if this is clean or if that's not clean, if this is not clean. If you believe and know what the truth is, you will know what is happening. You will know what is happening. Because there's no way possible you can see it any other way. Because what we're going to do is even this, just to keep this in mind, we're going to look at Leviticus. And just to look at it. Leviticus, and we're going to look at chapter 2. And what we're going to do, we're going to go over to chapter 2, and we're going to look at some of the things in chapter 2. Because we want to know what's in chapter 2. To find out exactly what is meat. What is meat? We need to know what this is. We need to know what that meat is. So Leviticus chapter 2, we're going to look at verse 1 and we'll see what it says. It says, and when you offer a meat offering, so we know it's a meat offering. A meat offering unto Yahweh, his offering shall be of what? Fine flour. Fine flour. So if it's fine flour, we know that this in the New Testament is not going to change flesh. It's meat. This is part of the problem what we go through when we go through the Bible. We'll sit there and see right here and we brush over it and we get into the New Testament and people say meat is meat. That's what we see it, and that's not true. That's so far from the truth. Excuse me. It's unreal. So we need to understand meat is fine flour. And it says, and you should pour oil upon it and put frankincense thereon. So we know right here, even right at the beginning, excuse me, it's talking about flour. It's fine flour. Another verse you can even look there to where we're just holding this just for a second to hold on to some stuff. We're going to do 4 and 5. Because what do it say? It says, if thou bring an oblation. So if you're going to bring something of a meat offering of what? Fine flour. It should be baking in the oven. It shall be unleavened cakes. So it can't have nothing that makes it rise. This is the catch with all this. This is why we have to understand what is happening all the time. In unleavened cakes, in fine flour, with oil, unleavened wafers anointed with oil. And if the oblation be a meat offering, baking in a pan, because they also baked bread in pans. It should be a fine flour, unleavened, mingled with oil. So if you baked it or if you fried it, it don't matter. This is how he's telling you how it has to be. This is what they're telling you. To abstain from certain meats. And they're telling you certain meats to stay away from, which Yahweh already had cleaned. This is the problem here. This is what was going on. So Paul has to give you the flip side on what was happening. Because what? Because giving thanks is of gifts of the Most High God, of his creation, and the knowledge of them who know and believe the truth. He going to keep running you to this. This, some of you guys might need to make a note somewhere, right up. I'll put the note right up in here for you. If you need to make a note for this, but I would put that there because you have to believe and know the truth. And if you look at the precepts up there, we know believe is to have faith. Believe is to have faith. In faith, meaning to trust where you got information from and you're going to take it as a truth. You follow me? So how are we going to pull all of this together before we get down here? Because we're going to be able to make it down there. Already put in here. So put in your preceptual, your digital preceptor. I want you to put how. How. We're going to see something very interesting. How. How. We already know who is Israelites. How. Who is pertaining to. How. Who believe and know the truth. How. Who pertains to their adoption. 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 And it's pertaining, actually you can even do it this way. Pertaining to the adoption. How? You're the ones, Israelite, who's pertaining to the adoption. Why is that? We're going to look at a couple of verses. Let's go down to Romans. We're going to look at Romans. Actually, I went up too high. We're going to look at Romans. And what do Romans 9 and verse 4? Romans 9 and verse 4. Pertaining to the adoption. We need to look at that real close. It says what? It says, who are Israelites? Who are Israelites to whom pertaineth the adoption? This is who they are. The ones that's pertaining to the adoption. Who what? Who believe and know the truth. This is all connected. It says, in the glory and the covenants. What? Because you have to know the truth, to know the covenant. In the giving of the law, in the service of Yahweh, and the promises. Who? The ones who believe and know the truth. Believe and know the truth. Pertaining to the adoption. What are they doing? Because if they believe it, as I said, and we see in there 9 and 4, we're going to look at down here, we're going to look at something, we're going to go to the law and understand something. So we're going to put in 6, 24, and 25. But we have to go look at it to make sure we tightly precepting this correctly. We have to look at this to make sure we precepting this correctly. So we know pertaining to the adoption, the ones pertaining to the adoption, how, that's how, but who are they? They're Israelites. When you looked at Romans 9 and 4, it's telling you clear who are Israelites who pertaineth to the adoption and glory in the covenant, in the giving of the law, in the service of Yahweh, in the promises. So we have to tightly weave this, because we can't make these kind of mistakes. Just, oh, well, I think it's this, or this is what it's saying to me. He can care less what I think. He can care less what you think. We have to know what he sees. And we have to adhere to what he says. So let's go look at Deuteronomy chapter 6 in verse 24 and 25. And watch what he says here. And Yahweh commanded us, who want to pertain to the adoption, to do all these statutes, to fear Yahweh our God for our good always. Why? Because you want that adoption. You want to be grafted into the internal life of what he's given. That's that internal inheritance that our forefathers agreed to. This is what you're asking for. This is what you're seeking. For our good always, that he might preserve us alive, comparing as it is this day. So if we want to be compared as it is this day, we have to be pertaining to the adoption. We have to be understanding what the law is. How? The ones who believe and know the truth. Don't, as Paul's saying, he's flipping it. Don't fall for the okie doke, as Paul's saying. See, this is the danger that Paul goes in, and while he's talking to these places and he's going in everywhere, he's talking to people who understand the laws of the men and not the laws of God. And Paul is showing them the laws of God and flipping it around on the laws of men. This is what he's doing here. Forbidding to marry, commanding to abstain from meats, which God has created. So when he said what God created, he's telling you what not to marry and what not to eat, what God has created to be received with thanksgiving to them that don't know the truth. See, this is what he did. Because this is what they teach. This is what they do. They're telling you can do this, but over here you can't do this. No, you're not to do that. And Paul said, no, that's not true. See, if you know the truth, and you know what the truth is, and you know the giving of the law, you will know that what you're supposed to do as far as who to marry and who not to marry. Giving of the law, you'll know what you can eat and what you cannot eat. This is what Paul's saying. In verse 25, and it says, and it should be our righteousness. It should be our righteousness. If we obey, if we observe and do all these commandments before we doing them as we doing it, because he sees everything, before Yahweh our God as he has commanded us. This is why this is so locked down. This is why you use this preceptor on this one verse, and you can see all the verses you have, just to give an understanding of this one verse. You can go out and teach on this one verse. Like it's real simple. You can go teach on this. But then on doing it in the preceptor and doing it out, you're going to do it correctly because it forces you to do it one way. But we have another one. We have another one in the old. We got to go to Sirach, which is Ecclesiasticus. And we want to make sure what is going on. So we're going to go to Ecclesiasticus. We're going to go into 28, verse 7 and 8. Ecclesiasticus 28, verse 7 and verse 8. Actually, I got this in the wrong place. Let me copy that, pull that out, and I put it down here with the Old Testament. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. So I'm running the two on top there, and I'm running the old ones down here. Technically, I'm doing some of that. So we're going to go to Ecclesiastes, chapter 28, verse 7 and 8. And it says, remember the commandments and bear no malice to thy neighbor. Remember the covenant. And you see it's italicized, so it's just saying, so it's saying thy neighbor, which is thy, is added in also. So it says malice to neighbor. The covenant of the highest is what it says. And wink at ignorance. And wink at ignorance. And what it says, you abstain from strife. You abstain from strife. That's what you abstain from. You abstain from strife. Meaning what? Being bitter, having conflict with someone. Having distensions and all this stuff. Acting in contentions and doing all these things. Trying to have superiority over somebody. That's what that is saying. So you abstain from that. And thou shalt diminish thy sins. For a furious man will kindle strife. Why? Because he's going to always find something to fight over. This is just like you had these Israelite brothers out there. They're going to the book and they be under the book for a year, sometimes 2 or 3 years, and then they think they know the whole book. You have many people go out there and what they do, they'll study and they'll do certain things, and what they'll do, they'll go to a theology school and then they want to teach the book. And when you went to theology school, they had you studying of their so-called church fathers. You have these things here to where when you're going to study the book, you got to study the book. It's the same as you study a $100 bill. Don't go study false $100 bills. You only go study the real $100 bill. Then you know what's false. So if you only go study the Bible, you don't know when something's false coming to you because you know it's not of the book. So we got to stay in the book and we got to understand all within the book and what all he's saying. So we also understand here. So we know we have to remember these covenants and all these things that's going on. But we also have some more here. We got to go to the New Testament, and we're going to go to Acts. And what do Acts say? Acts 15, and we're going to look at 28 and 29. Acts 15, verse 28 and 29. And it says here, for it seemed good to the Holy Ghost and to us to lay up you no greater burden than these necessary things. I'm talking about this is hitting this verse so hard, because this is when they put these unnecessarily silly things upon you. And the same thing, and it's really bad what they do with this, and this removes a lot of false doctrine. So if you get this application, what it does, it focuses on and it makes you pull what would need to be there, and you can't. If you go false, it's going to show it to you. But the main point of it here is how many people have a strain where they put people in these strains and put burdens on you, which is wrong. They put burdens on you, telling men and women, we're trying to build this house of God, and you guys need to commit to these certain things. They putting a burden on you. That's exactly what it said. No greater burden than these necessary things. What is necessary thing? You do what he said to do. You do what's commanded of you to do. That's what you do. But watch verse 29. And it says, that ye abstain from meats offered to idols, and from blood, and from things strangled, and from fornication, from which if ye keep yourselves, ye should do well, fare ye well. Why is it saying it in that manner? Because this is what they do. They give these strange things, these strange breads and everything offered to idols, and it's filthy anyway, and then they want you to eat it. Then same thing with the blood, things that were strangled, fornication. They have ritual rites where you have all kind of crazy things going on. This is what's happening. We have another precept we need to put in there, which is actually in 1 Timothy. To pull more things down here before we get down here. So we're going to go to 1 Timothy 4, chapter 4. 1 Timothy 4, chapter 4. What do 4, chapter 4 says? 4, chapter 4 says, for every creature of Yahweh is good. For every creature of Yahweh is good, and nothing to be refused. If it be received with thanksgiving. Why? Why is that there? Because if you believe and know the truth on what you can eat and what you cannot eat, nothing to be received, nothing to be refused. Nothing. It's telling you this. For every creature of God is good. He created animals to clean the earth. That's what they do. They're going to clean the earth. So as they clean the earth, he had them for that purpose. Is not for us to consume them for food. He have things that was created to clean the oceans, clean the lakes. They was created to clean them, not for you to consume them for food. But we have changed this, and we started doing otherwise. So we need to understand what truth is pertaining to the adoption. So we're going to look at Exodus. We're going to go to 34 and verse 6. Exodus 34 and verse 6. Let's look at some of the truth. And it says, and Yahweh passed before him and proclaimed. He passed before him and he proclaimed. But what did he proclaim? What did the Most High proclaim? He proclaimed Yahweh God. Now he's going to proceed. He's going to proceed to tell you these qualities and his characteristics: merciful and gracious. He's merciful and gracious, long suffering, and abundant in goodness. But you see right there, and truth. And truth. And it's who believe and know the truth. And who believe, who knows the truth. Which we have up there already in our precepts, which if you believe and know the truth, you know you have Psalms 119, 142. Because if you believe and know the truth, because his righteousness is truth. So we need to understand why he has that there. But so we need to go and grab some more here to where we're going to get. So we're going to also go down here, and now we're going to put in another verse. We need to put in Deuteronomy. We're putting in some laws, because if you notice, we got some laws in here. And we're going to put in Deuteronomy, chapter 13. Chapter 13, we're going to look at verse 14. And then we're going to look at another one also. But we're going to go that one. We want to get an understanding. Because after this, we're going to start diagramming and start laying this out. Because we have to lay this out. So we're going to look at Deuteronomy chapter 13, verse 14. It says, "Then shall thou inquire and make search, and ask diligently, and behold, if it be true in the thing certain that such abomination is wrought among you." So we have to know the truth, so we have to search out the truth. Not searching out anything. Not searching out anything. Let's look at 32. Chapter 32. 32 and look at 4. 32 and 4. 32 and 4. And let's get some other. And this makes it really, really, really clear. It says, "He is the rock." And you see, your rock should be capitalized. But if you're over here with one of these other Bibles, I can almost guarantee you on most of them, they're going to have it not capitalized. But he is the rock. His work is perfect. For all his ways are judgment. For all his ways are judgment. For Yahweh of truth. Truth is coming out again. And without iniquity. So if it's truth, it's opposite of sin. If you have truth, it's opposite of sin. If it's truth, we have to understand what truth is. That's why we have to precept this correctly. To where can nobody fool you on lying to you and tell you. Because as soon as someone give you a verse and then it takes them 20 minutes to explain it to you, they lying to you. They giving you theology. The scriptures can explain themselves. So it's telling you right here, all his ways of judgment, Yahweh of truth and without iniquity. Just and right is he. That's direct. That is direct. But we have another one still, right? We got to go right back down into this. We're going to use Psalms. We're going to pull another precept there. Oh, I don't know why I'm doing that. Thinking of the other show. We're going to use Psalm 51 and verse 6. Psalms 51 and verse 6. And it says, "Behold, thou desirest truth. Thou desirest truth." That should be there, your desire. Why? To believe and know the truth, because whatever you see is true, that's what you're going to follow. Whatever you see in your mind is true, that's what you're going to end up following. And that's why this is here. And if you want to see this as truth, that's what I said. Behold, thou desires truth in the inward parts, to where it even leads you to the other verses. And you see, you got a colon there because it's going to give you more understanding. And it is hidden in the part which thou shalt make me to know wisdom. This is too direct. And what verse is that? Where is it written? We already know. Everybody that run right here, and it's plain and simple. Jeremiah 31 in verse 33. 31 and 33. This is normal stuff. Normal stuff. Let's go. We have to look at it. We never just pop a verse in there. You have to read it. It says, but this shall be the covenant I will make with the house of Israel. Again, look at this, how blunt this is. The house of who? The house of Israel. Telling you who? Israel. It's clear as day. You can't get around it. Because we went all over the Bible so far. You see all these precepts we got from one verse to prove what is true. And saying this is one of the main reasons why we use this preceptor, to where it keeps you focused and it won't let you run outside of it. It's going to keep you focused on this. Why? Because it's telling you right here, this is the covenant he will make with the house of Israel. Who? Israel. How? Pertaining to the adoption. What are you going to say? In those that I will put my law on their inward parts and write it upon their hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. This is direct. Direct. This is what we need to make sure we're doing. So we need to understand what is happening. I'm going to reset my thing a little bit here. Display, and I just wanted to fit the width so I can see everything, because we're getting ready to go through. So if you see here, we have one verse. And right now we have more than 40 verses that precept to this. More than 40. If you're a pastor, you can take this and print it and go teach on this one verse, and you had to have maybe 5 or 6 sermons to teach on this. But they like to take one verse and they're going to teach whatever they teach. So we're going to look at this, and now we got to start grafting this out. This is where we're going to pull many things here. See, because this is where it's going to get really hairy and a whole lot of things start happening. Why? Because it gets way different. So what we're going to do, we're going to go and we're going to get our commenter started up. And over here, you see where you can see through the examples. Well, I'm going to show this here. It's going to stretch out. And then the mastery that you see, it explains a lot of stuff that we have in here. It'll show you what semicolons, colons, commas, it shows you what they actually mean, because they have something. They all mean something. And the same thing with the semicolon. Then we also show you the general nouns, which we're going to have to need to precept this out, which these are the nouns that's in the King James Bible, and these are your general verbs that you're going to find in your Bible. And what we had done these to where it'll help you to go through as you start doing this part. This is where you really need it. Some people might use it in other places, but this is where you really going to need it. So what we're going to do right now, I want you guys to look right here, and you see this box area. Once you have clicked on your commenting, these tools should have popped up. Once you clicked on this, these tools should have popped up. So I want you to click there, and I want you to go to the line tool. And I'm going to show you how to change the color just in case if somebody have it the wrong color, because actually mine even coming out in red, so that's even better. So I'm going to stretch it out, but I don't want it to be red. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to change this to black, which it should have did it. Well, let me go do it again. So it pop up to where it'll change black. So now what I'm seeing here, the color is red, but what I want is black. So I right clicked on it, chose black, and you see there, and it's actually thick, and I don't want it that thick. So I'm gonna go down and I'm gonna move it down to thickness of 2. And I'm just setting this up. This is just being set up. So now it's a lot thinner. Because this is what I'm trying to do. Because we have to precept this out. So I don't want to where it being too thick. So I'm gonna click the line again, and we're gonna try to get to where it can stay on the line too as long as we need it. So we're gonna click on the line again, and what we're gonna do, we need to put one here, and I'm gonna keep it red for a minute, but then I'm gonna change the color of it. And well, that ain't straight enough. And I can get picky, so but don't worry if you guys don't. If you don't do it, but I do get, sometimes I get anal, which that's a problem I have sometimes. So that's black. Well, I'm gonna change this to black, but then I'm gonna change this again to where we can either, if you're gonna pull from here, you have to pull it from there. So if you have this, make sure this is what you have. That should be your graph. But now we're going to right click on it. We're going to go down to properties and we're going to change this. And we can actually end up setting this later to where we can make sure it's correct. But I'm going to put that to 1, and I'm going to change the color, and I'm going to put this to here, to black. So we have that one's black, and now we just need to make this one black. So we just changing everything over. I want 4. And I believe it's a way we can do this to where we can have this set to where I won't have to do all these changes. So we have everything the way we have it set right now. So this should be there. And now we have to start grafting this out. And some other lines going to start coming out of here as we start in the diagram. So we need to find out, what is the main focus? What is the main focus here? The main focus here is going to go right here. So we're going to look at this verse again, and we need to see up here what is happening. So it's saying, again, forbidding to marry and commanding to abstain from meats which God hath created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth. So what will you put right here? Because whatever you put here, we need to make sure it's correct. So we have to put something there. Something has to go there, and we have to make sure we're right. Because if we get this wrong, we're going to get the top wrong, because the top going to lie to us because we done twisted it around. We done got everything on the top right, but then we come down here and start lying because we're trying to push a certain thought. So we can't do that. We have to figure out right here, what is the noun? What is the main focus? This is why you will never see, probably hardly know anyone trying to diagram the Bible. You'll find some places where they have books and they'll try to diagram, and 9 times out of 10 they get it pretty much wrong, probably 99.9% of the time. Because they have you focusing based on a Christian theology. You have to do this based on a preceptual understanding on what the Bible tells you. So we need to figure out which one of these words we have to focus in on right here. And the one you focus in on is God, because that's the main purpose of what we're doing. And same thing, I don't like the thing going around. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove to where it don't have no border. And I don't want no background. So I'm going to make it transparent. So then let me shrink that some up. So right here, we got God. We have God here. So with nothing here, what else do we need to put in? So let me move this over, because we need some information. We need information to go in here. What God? Okay, so let's look at this really close. It's saying forbidding to marry. Let's 86 that temporarily. And commanding to abstain from meats. This here you don't really hear even Most High says. That's how you tearing this verse down. But this he made clear. See, he told us don't marry outside your nation. Now this we know. So if you know this, is this proper to be put here, or we have to start tying some stuff, the characteristics of God and what God has done, to where we can make sure we're going to get all this right? How do we do this? Because we know this, but we know what's going. It says which God hath created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth. So how do we work this? The way we work this out, and I'm gonna do an arrow. I'm gonna do this one because it'll come out a little bit simpler for us for a minute. So I'm gonna put this here. And let me see, I need to adjust this. Yeah. So I'm going to adjust this. The reason why, because I'm going to do something here. So I need to put something in there. What are we going to put there? We need to put something there. And it has to be from out of here. So we know, one, he created. And this is where we're going to start coming into. Once we get all this down, you guys are going to start seeing. Let me delete this. Once we get all this taken care of, you will start seeing a lot of actually I do want the border. But I just want it black. Let's do it in black. And I don't want no fill color. I want it transparent though. That's the main thing. Now, let me do it transparent. So I have it this way, and let me do it this way. So it's that way. So God created. God created. What did he create? We have to carefully go through this. So what I want you to do to save time, you can take this. I don't see the copy there, but if you Control C on your Mac, you can Control C and you're going to copy it. On the PCs, I'm not sure. I think you do something similar. But I don't use PC, so I'm not really familiar with it. But if you're on a Mac, you do Command and hit C. If you're on a Mac, hit Command and C. And then I want you to hit Command and V. You'll see it creates another one for you. So what I want you to do is get those 4X. Oh, dang it. Let me hit Control A. So let me take this, but we have to change the text in here. So what will we put in here? What do we put here to make sure we know it? truth. So now we have God created truth. We tearing this verse down. God created truth. What else did God do? Or did he do anything? Or did he do anything? Or did he do anything? So we need to put some more here. So we're gonna put out this here. And we need to go and we're gonna put what? Them which believe. We can shorten this up or we can make it longer. Now I can shorten it. The only reason I'm doing it longer is so we can understand. But normally I just put believe. That's normally what I do. So if you want to do that, you can. But normally that's what I normally just do. But we're doing this because I do understand that we have other people who want to, who's doing this. And this will help you out to start showing you how to graph this out. And let me pull that over. Actually, let me pull that over. And so we have this here. So God created truth, them which believe. So we have these here. Now we got to go through. We got to start tearing this down. We have this pretty much it's set up, but now you're going to find out a whole lot of things that you got here that you're going to find out that you didn't even know that was in here. You're going to find out a whole bunch of things in here that you looked in here and you still haven't seen, and you done pulled all these verses. All these verses are pulled, and we still missing things. And we're going to put verses down here that many of them are going to be spiritual, that you missed from the top. So what we're going to do, because we over time, but what we're going to do, we're going to get into this and we're going to start finding out some things to which you will be going through your Bible and you'll be precepting it so tightly. You're going to start just sitting there like you're going to be wowing yourself. But the Bible will speak to you and teach you what you need to know. So we want to make sure that you go through, understand, and then if you don't understand what was going on all right here, take the time and go through this again. Because I'm going to make sure, well, they're going to make sure anyway, that this video actually going to go on the other side. It's going to go on the Precept Mastery. So if you're on the King James Bible University homepage, you see the Precept Mastery over on the right hand at the top. Click over there, join it, because we're going to be running over here. We're going to be running through this about twice, maybe 3 times a week. But what's going to happen, we're going to start focusing on certain things in the Bible to where we're going to have to precept them out to pull out the understandings from them. So we want to make sure that you understand what is happening all the time. This is the thing that we want you to do. So if you do this, you will always make sure that you precept in the Bible correctly. So if you haven't had a chance, go over to the Moab, and you can go over to the store. You can actually get the application I'm actually using, the Preceptor. You can get that to where you can start going through it. And I believe they have even a monthly one that I think they have right now. But if you want to get the full-blown version, that's the one I will prefer you to get, because for the reason why, because you have it for the lifetime. But it also has we have Bibles and things included, but then we have other things included to help you to tightly precept the Bible. So we ask that you continue, ask that you make sure that you study to show yourself approved, and make sure that you continue to not go outside the book, but to always stay within the book. And with that, I say shalom.